And boom. So that should solve the seeing and talking problem. We
Can you hear
apologize.
us now, PJ?
You should be able to hear us now. We're sorry about the non-sound there. I had to turn off the sound for a minute while we were preparing for the show. But you should be able to hear us now. We apologize for that. Hi, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Buy my book. Buy Aaron's single. How are you doing? He's fine. I'm fine. We saw each other at the BX. It rained. We're going to go golfing again. Just got to the BX after I came back from France, talking about general orders. Okay, that brings you up to speed now with sound. And and now we can tell you. So
I just checked. There is sound now.
Yeah. So the general order, what it covered was essentially that you couldn't leave the country. So the new general order said you can go to these countries in Europe, and there are very specific ones. One of them is not Poland, by the way. I thought that was interesting. But France is one of them, and it says you can go in and out, and it's fine, and there's no border patrol. There's no sort of check. I mean, they trust you. And when we were in France, aside from people going in the stores, generally people did not have masks on, just so you're aware. And it was a kind of a free-flowing thing. The weather was amazing, except for some rain on the kind of the latter half of the last, the second day we spent there. And it was pretty good. The big thing, man, is you just have to get some stress off your shoulders, right? You have to find a way to do that. And I think this was the first time I've had to do that, so that was very, very cool. What have you been doing for the weekend? And by the way, I've got some COVID things to talk about, but they're sports related, so we'll talk about that now too. But what about you?
I as well. I did not much today. I did my hunting and gathering as a nod to John B.
Nice.
This morning, came in, went to the bank this afternoon because when I was there this morning, they weren't open yet.
Right.
Tooled around the BX. As you know, we ran into each other. And
Keith had, just for the record, Keith had large packages of underwear and large packages of socks. So it's time for that 9 or 10 month cycle all us men do apparently on his house.
And let's just say
he's done turning them inside out. So
I don't have large packages of underwear.
Wait, what?
My packages are my underwear is generally pretty small.
I'm not even sure what to say about that. I'm not even going to get into that, but anyway, so
but the BX was crowded. The food court is doing a booming business.
It's filled up,
and I have yet to get out on my bike and enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be sore.
What is tonight's T-shirt, by the way? I can't quite read it. What is tonight's T-shirt?
Tonight's T-shirt is Bellevue West. That's the high school I graduated from.
Oh, okay.
So last summer, I went back to Omaha, which Bellevue is a suburb of Omaha.
Okay.
To see my sister before I came over here, and I stopped by the school and bought a T-shirt.
Okay, cool. Looking at the data rate, we're having a bit of troubles with the data, but we should be okay. It's going to fluctuate in and out, folks, like it always does. That's just our data stream. So, so it was a good weekend. Glad to get back on a Saturday. We had some things we wanted to do. I had some things that I wanted to do around the house. I just started another 3D print, so that's going well. I did one while we were gone. It was a little figure. It turned out great, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's all good. So we need to talk a little bit about the COVID stuff. Of course, it is loosening up here, but also that it's starting to affect sports again, right? Here are all these leagues that were coming back, and they are not coming back now. Or, well, they probably will, and they are having some troubles, right? So I'm guessing we were going to talk about the same thing, which is players on the Cowboys, 49ers, and Broncos have all tested positive. The NBA, the MLS have had 2 players test positive, and they're supposed to start their little circle of soccer very soon down in Orlando. And then there's no NBA news, but they have started wearing something called an Oura Smart Ring. Are you aware of this? It's some sort of ring that's supposed to detect COVID. Yeah, so it's called an Oura Smart Ring, and I want to make an IUD joke, but I couldn't think one up before the show. So it's got something. There's an IUD joke there, but I couldn't think it up. So, I mean,
you were mentioning teams and go to baseball. Phillies had 8 players.
Right.
Blue Jays had a player.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Lightning in hockey had 3 players.
I didn't know that. I missed that one.
It's just what I saw on the ticker last night.
Right.
So we may not see sports this year.
Yeah, I don't think so. MLB is just shooting itself in the foot over and over again. So that's a different story. I just think if you're going to bring thousands of people together, and it has to be thousands. It's not hundreds or tens. It's thousands. I think at this point, the opportunity for COVID goes up. The opportunity to spread it goes up. That puts more weight on the hospitals. And they could say all they want about, we'll have tremendous medical coverage and all of those kinds of things. But the reality is I just don't think there's any safeguard to this. So the balance here, in my mind, anyways, as long as we're talking COVID, is okay. If we're not going to play, if we're not going to do that, then when is the right time to go back, right? Because we've seen that second wave happening. Not here. Here it's been pretty. The level's been pretty good. There've been some little pops, but not spikes. But when is it okay to do that, right? And that's an interesting question, and not one I can answer. I mean, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not a person who speculates on that. But with all this stuff happening, it's very interesting. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think Dr. Fauci has said we may not see sports. He says it's very conceivable that we won't see sports this year.
Right.
And you also have to think you're talking thousands of people in a stadium,
right,
which is what one every other seat, one every fourth seat, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Could the teams be held liable if somebody can trace their COVID diagnosis back to the stadium?
Yeah, and the answer is yes. Of course they can. And the owners can be held liable, and the city, to an extent, can be held liable. I mean, there's a lot of liability, and we are a very litigious country, and that sort of thing is just rife for the taking in terms of, people who are just going to say, well, I caught it here, so I'm going to sue MLS, Orlando, the state of Florida, and the United States all at once, and somebody's going to give me a paycheck because that's just how this thing works. So, yeah, you're exactly right. I don't see there's no other way around this. So, I mean,
and I hate to admit that. You know how I feel about the NFL.
Yeah.
But, I would rather, how do I say this? I would rather have the NFL than some watered down, and I'm not talking strike, comparing it to strike season or anything like that.
Right.
Some watered down, fans can enjoy it game. And so it's tough. And, the NFL players want to play. They don't have the concerns that the players that Major League Baseball does, which is all about money.
Right. Exactly right. So I think I'm going to stop. You know what? You're going to have to monitor the comments tonight. I'm going to cut off my feed right now. Ooh. And we're going to do that. So then maybe that'll help the bit rate a little bit and stop dropping frames. Okay, yeah. No, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with you on that. I think there's a balance there. I mean, we can't be frightened, but on the other hand, I mean, this is still something in our life. It's a respiratory disease. It's, I was trying to think, is it like cystic fibrosis in a way, I wonder, which is a horrible disease. But I mean, it's that kind of disease that gets into your respiratory system and it just lives there. But, they can get it out and people can say, 99% of people are okay, but how many people have to die and all that. So anyway, part of the rainstorm thing, by the way, I wanted to get back to that was, so have you ever eaten ice cream with your fingers? I just want to try that one out.
No, I've never eaten ice cream with my fingers.
Okay, so
I've slurped it through a straw.
Yeah, that's called a milkshake.
With a wooden paddle, but yeah.
Yeah, so we were leaving the BX today, and I was like, all right, Annabelle wanted ice cream. I'm like, cool. So she went over to Baskin Robbins. I said, okay, you watch the cart, and you get me some ice cream, and you get you some ice cream. She's like, cool. So I walked over. I had to get Dee Dee some dinner from one of the other vendors. She was hungry. And Annabelle comes over, and she hands me this big, beautiful bowl of peanut butter and chocolate ice cream. Being peanut butter and chocolate, to me, is just, it's amazing. It's just the best. And so I was really looking forward to it. And as you said, God opened up the heavens and decided to rain upon us, and it was coming down. The cell was really located it was over Ramstein. It didn't rain here at all. I mean, it's beautiful here now. So get to under the awning, as you walk out, and I'm like, all right, Annabelle, I'm going to go get the car. You hang here. I'll come back. We'll get the stuff in the car. We're gone. She's like, cool. So I had to walk a bit out, get the car. I got soaked, got in the car, came back. So we got another air conditioner today, so we can have one for her floor and one for our floor, as it looks like the 90s are starting to come next week. And so I had to put that in the car, which that was no big deal. That was like, But I also we had a couple small bags, and at the time, my small bags were covering up my bowl of ice cream, and I was like, all right, this is not a problem. But when I pulled the bags off, the spoon went whee, and it flew into the street, and I was like, oh. That said, I'm not one to let a good bowl of peanut butter and chocolate ice cream go to waste, so I was double fingering it in the car. And Baskin-Robbins peanut butter in there, you can pull the pieces out with your finger, and you can nom nom it. It's amazing. It was totally worth my time. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So they're saying my sounds like I'm in an empty room, but I don't know if that's any different than what it normally sounds like. What you're seeing behind me, no, you're just seeing a Thunderbird picture.
He doesn't want you to see his blow-up dolls.
But...
So,
yeah. I'm talking into concrete walls, the way my desk is set up, so it echoes a lot with the tile floor and all that. So it sounds funny. I'm trying to.
He's in his holding cell. He just doesn't want to tell you. He's in Gitmo.
Yeah, I'm not trying to kiss my microphone. I'm just trying to delete the audio or the echo as much as possible. But I got concrete walls and tile floors. So
eventually, I'm going to convince Keith to come over to my house so we can do the show live. And I think that's going to be next Saturday. So I think we'll try.
I was just going to say, let's just make it next
Let's make
week.
it next Saturday, and I'll figure out do you have a portable webcam, or is it locked onto your computer?
It's my laptop.
Okay, so we'll figure out the webcam thing, and we'll get that done too. So, yeah, it's we'll figure this out. We learn something new with each week with everything we think we solve, and then it becomes a new problem. So, no big deal.
I had a great thing happen this week.
Tell me.
I got a ticket. No, I didn't get the ticket. A speeding ticket this week. I got it back in February.
I was going to say, you got the ticket like 4 months ago.
Yeah, but I got the reply to the ticket.
Right.
Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of angst about speed cameras in the U.S.
Right.
I did some research. There's just over 4,000 speed cameras in the U.S. But anytime someone tries to go up or a city tries to put it in, there's always pushback about it.
Yes.
Let me tell you, 99% of the speeding tickets in Germany come from speed cameras.
That's right.
And so they can be set up in construction zones on the side of the road. Well, it was
in bushes.
February 3rd of this year, when at 7:09 a.m.
Yeah.
When I'm going by a newly opened. There had been a lot of construction there, but it was now newly opened, and there was nobody else on the road. It was dark in February. I had no idea what I was doing out at 7:09 in the morning on a Monday morning, other than going to work. But that's way early for me to be going to work. But anyway, so there I am. I stop at the stop sign. I go, and it's uphill, so I go up the hill, and I see the flash, and no kidding. The way you get a ticket is you get it in the mail a couple of weeks later.
Yes.
And usually there's a fine on it. You
unless you're going really fast.
What's that?
I said unless you're going really fast.
Which brings me to the next part of the story.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Segway.
I'm sorry.
No, so I'm reading this in the mail. I knew I got it. And generally, the expression you get when it flashes is you just about to say, because it takes a picture of the driver and the license plate in separate photos.
Yes.
And generally, you've got the look on your face where you're just starting the words, oh, shit.
If you see it, my usual look is something, if you're watching at home, it's something like this. It's like it's between it's like a, I think I got to go poop, and I really got to get home to poop. It's that look. It's that kind of.
Yes.
It's that look, and then you when you go past it and you remember that it's something flashed. That's when you go, oh shit, yeah, it's a drag.
Yeah. So I knew I was getting a ticket, but I looked down at my speedometer. It wasn't too bad. Okay, so a couple of weeks later, I get the ticket, and usually it says, you were here, this intersection, this highway, whatever, at this time, on this date, blah, 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 doing this much over the speed limit, and here's your fine. And you can wire it to this, and you're done.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
This one said you were doing this time, in pursuant of this statute, blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading it on Google translator, and then I'll go in and have our great coworker read it to me,
Yes.
just so I don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
And there was no fine listed. No fine listed at all, and then I knew I was screwed.
Right.
So I take it, and you know, because you've gone through this, it gives you a chance. There's another form included in the envelope, and you get a chance to state your case.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to you about it because you've been through it, or Dee Dee has.
Indeed.
And so I said, okay. So I wrote it out. I translated it through Google Translator in English. Said, it was early in the morning. This was a newly opened zone.
Right.
Excuse me. Zone. Oh, by the way, I forgot a very important part.
What was that?
Was the speed limit was 50K, which is about 30 miles an hour.
Correct.
I was doing, according to them, according to the speed camera, 80K.
Okay. That's a big over.
Yeah, which is about 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which is 30 over the speed limit.
That's a big over.
That's a big over. So I got it, and I said, newly opened. There was nobody else on the road. It was a straightaway. There, past the roundabout. I tried to come up with everything I could. Yeah. I may or may not have mentioned that I have diabetes and I wanted to get to work to eat breakfast. And not work because
sick dog at home.
It was not, sick dog. The dog ate my homework. Yeah. I had to pee. Whatever.
I have to help feed a child in Africa for 25 cents a day.
That's right.
This burden I have, could you please?
Everything.
Hello, friends.
Everything. The Kiss concert was getting canceled. No, that was before COVID. This was before
bad.
COVID, actually. So everything, everything I could.
Right.
And so you and I were both waiting. I think you're still waiting for that reply, aren't you?
I am. So we had a similar situation where my lovely wife was doing a bit too fast in a particular area, and she received a similar letter that said, you were going really, really fast. Would you like to explain why you were doing that for the opportunity to not be, pay a $3 million or €3 million fine? And she said, yes, we would. So we sat down and wrote the letter together. We said something similar, we feed a child in Africa. We've got a lot going on. We, obviously, actually what had happened was when she was coming back from, I want to say, visiting one of the castles with her niece got very sick. And
I remember that. Yes.
They didn't know how sick she was, but the way she was reacting, it was sort of alarm-C or emergency room sick. So she kind of put it to the floor a little bit and decided to, try to make it. And apparently there's a zone, I know you know it, I think it's, what is it, 63, it's 63, where you're coming down from Sembach, and right before it turns into the A6 again, there's a little 100, there's a 100-kilometer area, and right there's a camera. And I've pretty much got it memorized now because I've been to Sembach enough, but she doesn't do that, right? And she's thinking of her niece, so obviously she popped it, and I think she was probably going like 20 or 30 over, whatever it was. So we wrote a letter. Hi, yeah, we know it. It's a shame that, we didn't recognize it, but we haven't heard back yet. So on the other hand, Dee Dee has got this protest going in our mailbox where she has put up a sign that said, hey, stop stuffing shit advertisements into our box. And why don't you put real mail in here? And it's, a lot of Germans do this. It's not a terrible, but he continues to jam shit in the mailbox. So he just doesn't take it out. So our mailbox looks like a newspaper peacock starting to grow out of the box, but sometimes there's real mail in there and we have to look for it. You're listening to This Show is a JK, and if you're watching, hi. We're sorry about the audio slip-up, but the tagline at the start was, it's the summer solstice, but we're living on Tulsa time. I felt like you needed to hear that again because it was pretty good. In any case, we're glad to have you along. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. That's where you can catch the podcast and make sure you get it weekly. We do this 2 times a week until Keith gets a girlfriend. And then we also do a live video show as we do Saturdays at 9 o'clock. Every Saturday at 9 o'clock. We're pretty faithful with this because we have no social life. So we do this together, plus we're good friends, so that we have a lot to talk about and we have things to talk about. So it's a lot of fun to do, and we appreciate that you're viewing, all 6 of you right now, although we saw 11 at one point. So thank you all. I wonder if my dad's here, because I had to close my chat to improve the stream. I guess that was one of the things too. I now can't monitor the feed, so that's why I have to leave that up to you. So, but we have a watch party on your feed. I have a watch party on my feed, so it could be in either place. So if you're there, Dad, hi, I love you, and it's good to see you. Your dad turned in a bracket, though. That's cool. I think my dad did too.
Turned in a bracket, and I think he's listening right now.
Yeah.
So he wants to hear the end of the story. So I got this letter Monday.
Okay.
And I didn't even try to translate it because, anyway. So I took it in and had our coworker read it to me.
Yeah.
Asked our coworker to read it to me.
Yes.
And she says, it went away. They dismissed it. And I went, what?
It vanished. Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to turn down the money for 50 over. I was more worried about points off my driver's license than I was the
that's
money.
A big deal. Right.
But nope, it's been dismissed, done. Pardon me, holy shit.
Yeah.
That would never happen in the States.
No, and the thing is, so I think there are more ways for them to collect money from you, because if you're doing 10 or 20 over, you're paying that because it's like 10 euros, 20 euros. And to me, that's just like, all right, whatever. That'll help the Kaiserslautern Beautification Fund. But if you're going 30 or 40 or whatever it is over, they at least want to say, okay, we want to hear you out. What happened here? And, if you can justify it, why not? But in the United States, that would be $500 in like traffic school or something, And so it is a little, I don't want to say it's looser, but it's different. And I'm good with different. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy about that. My bank account is happy about that. My driving record is happy about that. So everything's good. Jim Heyman?
Is he here?
That's Dad.
He's in the house?
Yep, said Happy Father's Day, sir.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers and everyone. And
absolutely.
Happy summer solstice. Happy birthday if it's your birthday. What else is there? We said summer solstice. Happy Juneteenth to those that observe and celebrate it. That was the day before we did this. So, okay, I think we've got all the things covered now.
You mentioned we're living on Tulsa time.
Yes.
And I'm not a praying guy. I'm not a religious guy. I am looking up wherever and saying, please let my home state, my beloved state of Oklahoma, look good tonight in their time. But I'm not holding out hope for that.
The challenge, of course, is like other places, will there be people from other states that come in to cause problem for your state? And someone reported before I came on that 4 staffers have tested positive for COVID even before the rally started.
For
White House staffers.
Event staffers? White House staffers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're not going to get into that. We will. That's starting. Let's see, what time is it now? 9. So it's got another 4 hours before I'll just be after be in bed. But I wanted to update on the 3D printer adventure. So if you following my feed, then you saw the print that I actually left on the printer this weekend and let it run. And that was a little figure that I downloaded off a website just so I could test if my printer was all calibrated, and it worked great. It worked fantastic. The model.
Good.
Yeah. So now the first thing I actually printed was a small sign for Annabelle, which I don't have here. I'm sorry I didn't bring it out. It says, caution, there are bees here. And Annabelle have this inside running joke about bees. So it was perfect for her and she loves it. And then that was that one. So now what's printing finally is a figure that I made on something called Hero Forge, not an endorsement, but they are cool. And I made a Vorpal little figure about this. Actually, I made 2. It was that fun. So I'm printing one of those out now just to see how it looks. And then I'm also designing my own Vorpal figure in this program called Blender. The 3D printing stuff is very cool, but I sit here and say, okay, I see some of the things that people print out. Like I saw somebody print out like a case to a battery. I think it was for either a motorcycle or a scooter or something like that. And I thought, okay, so for the amount of time that it probably took to print that, which based on the size in my mind is about 12 hours, wouldn't it have been easier to go to the store and buy that as an $11 part or a $12 part and replace it versus the labor and everything else to print it? Yes.
Hold on just a second, Jason. Repeat. What was the item? Because you paused or it cut out just as you said what it was. It picked up everything else. Tell us what it was again.
That's fantastic. It was a battery case. It was like a battery case on a motorcycle of some kind. It was like a little box. I mean, it's literally maybe the size of your palm wide, something like that. And it's like that. So, but this guy printed it out and he was very proud of it. And that's all very cool. But, as I like to say, what is the opportunity opportunity cost of printing something out like that, you know, if you can just go buy it for a lesser price. I mean, it's neat to print out stuff like that, but if there's already a functional device that's cheaper made for that, you know, it's kind of, that's the stuff I don't want to print. If I can buy it easier than I can print it, great. If I can't buy it easier than I print it, why not print my own stuff, you know, to fix stuff around the house or whatever. That's just kind of the way I feel about it. So anyway, print number 4 is underway in the house.
We talked, because we were able to, we talked in the office this week.
Awesome.
Did you decide to keep this printer?
Keeping it, yes. I had a discussion with my friend Tom about, he has something called a resin printer, and I think I've talked about that. It's smelly, and it's, you know, you got to wear a mask and wear gloves and everything. And I really had buyer's remorse because he was telling me the level of detail he was getting out of it. But I changed my mind. I decided to keep this one, and maybe I'll get a resin printer for Hanukkah or something like that. So maybe I'll have both. We'll see.
All right, Jason, you cut out for about 20 seconds there.
Wow.
You had a discussion with Tom, and then you stopped.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I had a discussion with Tom, and basically he has a resin printer, and we decided not to get a resin printer, so that was that.
Okay. All right.
Uh-oh, Keith is frozen now.
Uh-oh.
Awesome. I'm not sure on whose side this is happening. We really need to do the live.
All right.
We need to do the live shows. We really need to do this. The Skype is really killing us. So, I could see the bit rate dropping right now. This is, really? Really?
Are we there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the bit rate's just, on my end, it's really dropping for some reason. I'm not sure why. Oh.
Yeah, just all of a sudden. So we're trying, but I almost had. There almost was a national emergency on 2 sides of the ocean today. I went into the commissary for my morning.
Oh, this is important. Right.
Yeah, and I go. One of the first places I go is to the snack cake aisle or section, and get my weekly update of zebra cakes. I mentioned before, they haven't had honey buns in months.
Right.
Since really the pandemic started.
Right.
But the Ramstein commissary was out of zebra cakes.
Dun, dun, dun.
My heart beat faster.
Yeah.
Okay, don't panic.
Yeah.
There's another commissary within 5 miles.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
No problem. So I went there, and I stocked up on zebra cakes. But I'm telling you, Jason, I'm warning you.
Yeah. You think the end is near?
If the commissary goes with zebra cakeless, our boss may have to send me home on a compassionate reassignment.
Well, it has been a while for the other one. What's the other one? The honey buns, right?
The honey buns.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been probably 4 months, 3 months.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. But again, they continue to have.
Anyway, it's fun. It's first world problems.
They continue to have outages on weird things, don't you think? Oh, great.
Yes, and what's funny is they do these commercials, these PSAs. We're fully stocked. We're full of bullshit. You're fully stocked.
Yeah.
You're not. There are bare aisles in the Ramstein commissary, which I think is the biggest one in Europe.
It is. Of course it is. Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
No, that's definitely the biggest one in Europe.
There are bare sections in the commissary.
I think the one that always gets me that's bare, and I'm calling up the bracket so we can get started on that here in a second.
Yeah.
Is the one that always makes me laugh is we have a pretty robust freezer section in that commissary. When you turn the corner, the smoothie fruit section is right there, and that is always wiped out. So whatever you fucking people are doing with smoothies, slow down, because there is I don't drink smoothie. I haven't had a smoothie in probably a year. But I mean, if other people need smoothies, they're getting killed because it's I mean, they never have smoothie fruit in there. That I never see macaroni and cheese. That's always wiped out. And what's the other one? Oh, they've been kind of short on not chicken you buy like fresh chicken, but the Tyson chicken nuggets and all the pre-prepared chicken stuff that's in there. That's always seems to be gone too. So
easy to make stuff like I make.
Yeah.
And quick
Like
before
I
we get
make.
started, quick diabetes update.
Yeah.
I saw the diabetes specialist Thursday. She didn't laugh at me. I did tell her, hey, you're trying to change 4 years of diabetes in a week, and she said, absolutely not. We are not changing this in a week. It's going to be a process. It's going to take a while. Get the math done, counting carbs and all that.
Right.
I had to explain to her what a zebra cake was, and I showed it to her, or showed her a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
So my daily intake is like 14 carbs or 14 grams.
I was going to say, I think it's 14
breakfast.
carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, 14 grams at breakfast, and I don't eat lunch usually. So, and then 12 grams or 26 grams at dinner,
Right.
and then 148 for my evening snack because that's the zebra cake.
Nice.
She said, well, okay, you shouldn't do that, but at least we can account for it. So I go back in 2 weeks after doing 2 weeks of math, and she made me buy a food scale and all that. I eat a lot of meat. I don't eat a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
So my math is fairly easy, but it's going to take some getting used to. So those of you that have been on the Atkins diet or whatever, I know you feel my pain.
So I wanted to show people that I'm not using a foresty backdrop. This is actual, no kidding, forest and stuff behind me.
That's right off your balcony.
Yeah, so this area that's behind me, this right over here, is all forest, but then over there's a trail called the El Camino, which is very famous, and Dee Dee knows more about it than I do, but it runs essentially the part of the length of Germany. It runs through France. It runs through Spain. It's a really big deal, and people like to hike in, and it's also a religious thing. So it's right there, and Dee Dee walks on it every day, so that's pretty cool. All right, well.
Hey, just real quick to go back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
14 breaking news on ESPN. 14 test positive on Kansas State's football team.
I'm telling you, it's not, unless they just force their way through and they're not thinking about everybody's health instead of just a few people's health. It's going to be a very quiet season, you know. All right, one more reminder. You're listening to this show as a JK. I'm Jason Tudor. Over there is Keith Pennell. We are glad to have you along. Sorry about all the drops tonight. Thought we had this thing worked out, but again, as Keith mentioned, I've got 50 megabit internet. He's got something close to that. We do not have the kind of capacity that's in the United States to put up with this, and occasionally we just lose the feed, and it happens. We are out in cow country. That's how it works. So, but we thank you for staying with us. It is now bracket time, which is probably why a lot of you are here. It's Keith's bracket, so take it away, brother.
All right, so this was a bracket I had originally for D-Day weekend.
Right.
I put it to the side to so we could do the World War II movie.
Right.
I went back in to do this bracket, and the website had deleted it, so I very quickly made up another one. And I know there are cars missing. We tried to keep the bracket smaller now so we can talk about it more.
Right.
And I even left off my favorite classic car, which is the 56 Corvette convertible. But there are some very recognizable, very notable cars on this bracket. So you're ready. And you have not seen the bracket?
I have not seen the bracket. No, I have not looked at the cars on the bracket. And I realize that if some of you are with us, you're not seeing my picture or probably Keith's. We're doing the best we can, but hopefully you can hear us on audio. I have not looked at the bracket. I went in and fixed it. That's literally all I did. So we are doing what we're doing here. So you're off.
Thanks, Connie Maurer. Connie Maurer says Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
She owned, and I learned to begin driving a stick shift on a 1985 Dodge Daytona in Omaha, Nebraska. So
wow.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the where are we here? The 12.5, the 1969 Dodge Charger,
Okay.
otherwise known as the Dukes of Hazzard car,
Yes.
and a 63 Austin with no U Martin DB5,
Love it.
which is the early James Bond car.
Dodge Challenger. I mean, it's not even close to me. I love European cars, and I'll go European car all day. But yeah, it's the James Bond car is great, and it's got a really big place in my heart. But what it's going to be is that's going to be a Dodge Challenger. That car was gigantic and loud and fierce and so cool, and just really, really neat to see. So I'll take the Challenger all day and twice on Sunday. What about you?
I agree. I like the lines. I love the mystique of the Aston Martin.
Right.
But you know, the Duke boys, and they've been. This is not the first time they've been in a bracket of ours. But yeah, you got to go with the Dodge Challenger. Are you able to see the bracket?
I am. Yes, I could see the bracket.
Okay.
Do you want me to update the bracket as well?
Yeah, I'll leave that up to you.
All right. I have to do some manipulating here, but it'll just take a second. I'll try to do this. Nobody could see me at the moment anyway, so go ahead.
Moving on. Let's see, that was the 12.5. So the 11.6 is the 89 Porsche 930 Turbo, which is basically a 911 on steroids.
All right.
And the 67 Pontiac GTO.
It's a GTO. Well, I love the way you spelled Porsche, first of all, which is Proche. Proche. That is a brand
first
new.
Of all, anybody worried about my spelling can kiss my ass. Look at the bracket. That's all. Here's my answer to you guys that complain about my spelling. You knew what I meant, right?
Proche.
Okay.
But it's Proche. That is too funny. Well, I think people can hear us. That's the best thing, I suppose. It's awesome. You are frozen on the screen. And let's see if the new video has come up here. Hang on a second. We'll get back to doing bracket here. Just trying to technically troubleshoot this effing thing as we go. La-da-dee. Yep, there we are. And there's that one.
Yay.
Yeah, we're frozen on the screen, so you're just going to see us. Sorry, that's the way it's going to go. In fact, I'm just going to delete these. So all you're going to hear is audio from now on. And then next week we'll figure out if we're even going to continue this or not. So anyway, if you can hear us, hi. Maybe that's a little better to do. All right, so you said in the bracket area, let's see, Porsche 930 Turbo and 67 Pontiac GTO. Well, this is, again, I really like the Pontiac here. I really like again, this was, and I think you were drawn to this too, that late 60s, early 70s was the era for muscle cars. I mean, no question. There were some great muscle cars to come out of there. And it's also a time when people made muscle cars. And that was done up, I think, until computers came along. And then people started taking more pride in the build of their computer than they did in their cars. And that's fair. I think it's just our taste changed. And also the auto industry sort of left the United States. It got outsourced to a million other places. And while there are still there are pieces and parts of the car that aren't made here. And there are pieces and parts of the car that are made here. So it wasn't the sort of whole of America sort of thing that it was, again, until about the mid-'80s. And then after that, it wasn't that big a deal anymore. I can't think of another way to say it. You know, I think it's still prideful to buy a Ford or a Chevy or another American-made car. But on the other hand, 70% of that car is made somewhere else other than the United States, Mexico, wherever else. It's not the same as when all these businesses were around Detroit and made parts for it. My friend Bill Dowell used to do this. That said, I'm a big fan of the Pontiac GTO. I love it. I think it's a great car. I love Porsches, but I've never been partial to Porsches like my friend Bailey Brown. He owns a brilliant-looking Porsche. It's an awesome-to-drive car, too. Thank you for letting me do that. But this is, to me, it's the Pontiac GTO right here, my friend. Boom.
I agree. I'm going American with that. I love the Porsche. I love that I rode, and I didn't know the significance of it then, but sometime when I was in Wiesbaden, probably 78, my parents had taken a trip with some coworker friends and gone to Paris. We were staying with a neighbor, and the neighbor's friend came over, and he had one of those Porsches, and I remember being bright yellow.
Right.
But it was the smaller kind of Porsche. Right. I don't know the numbers, but it was the small, not the big beefy Porsche, but the smaller, almost Barbie car Porsche.
Okay.
But and he gave me a ride in
the 911.
He thought
the 914. Cool. Is it the two-seater?
Yeah, it was a two-seater.
I think it's the 914. I never really liked those, but yeah, I know the car you're talking about.
So I'm looking at our feed. Yes, our video. You took the video off, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, but what it's still doing is it's still I lost my train of thought. Running the words across the bottom of the screen.
It's going to do that. And so it's closed captioning, so people can hear our lovely voices, but they won't be able to see our beautiful faces until we get
I have this big zit on my face anyway, so don't worry about it.
That's just called your face. Hi-yo! All right, so what do you choose here, dummy?
Let's see. We got the 10.7.
No. Which one did you choose, the GTO or the Porsche?
I went American.
Oh, okay, good. GTO. All right. So, because I got to score it.
Yeah.
So Nathaniel knows exactly where he is in this thing.
That's right.
And my dad, because I think he asked me about the bracket earlier in the week, and he's like, "What is it this week?" And I said, "Muscle cars." And I think he was pretty enthused about that. So he'll let us know if it was. All right, go ahead.
Well, like I said, I changed it from muscle to classic just so we could get some other things in there.
Well, and Daniel has a great suggestion: best cinema cars, and so maybe we can expand that to best cinema and TV cars. And I'll take that. In fact, I will take that bracket next week, and we will make that happen. So. We will do that. Best cinema and TV cars is next week. So if you have suggestions, send them in. You can do it now or send them in through the message or whatever. But I've already got 3 in my head, so I may even put the controversial Dukes of Hazzard car in there.
Lotus that goes in.
Oh, that's
turns into a submarine.
That's my wet dream car.
Fires missiles. Anyway, okay. Back to this bracket.
Kid from Knight Rider.
See, this one's going to be tough. Not tough for me, but 65 Mustang.
Yeah.
And the 57 Mercedes 300 SL with the gull wings and all that.
So the gull wings are a big deal, and the gull wings now cost you what, $300,000-$400,000. So yeah. I mean, on the what is it, the AMG Mercedes, and I mean, great if you can afford it. Like the G-Wagon. The G-Wagon is, which I titled the last week's episode because I was listening to a Post Malone song and it sounded funny. G-Wagon's a $150,000 Mercedes-Benz that looks like a Scion XB, which my dad drives, that I used to drive. So, I mean, I guess it's all a matter of perspective. If this had been like and I'm not sure, do I see it on here? Wow, you don't have any Corvettes on here. I'm not even sure this is a valid bracket.
I told you. I was in a hurry.
Yeah.
And
all right.
My favorite, that I had planned to put on was the 56 Corvette convertible.
It's still... It still would be lacking because it's not a 63 split window coupe Corvette. But anyway, you want to know what's better between a Mercedes 300 and a 65 Mustang. Rest in peace, my mom. I love her to death. She loved herself a 65 Mustang, and that was really an original car. As I recall, the Mustang was built. That Mustang was built in the same way that the Dodge Neon was built. It was literally a car built for women. They targeted it toward women. They made it women-friendly, and it somehow turned into a muscle car later on, like, as my dad pointed out, the Bullet Mustang and the, 60... I'm going to say 60 Seconds from Mars, but I'm combining two things. The former old movie that was a Nick Cage movie, 60 Seconds... Somebody will tell us what it is. Are you there?
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Thank you, Gone in 60 Seconds.
60 Seconds.
So I think that was the same kind of Mustang, a Mach 1. I actually saw a Mustang in the Lemon lot at Ramstein that I like a lot. So it became something different. So I'm picking the Mustang. Gull wings are great, but again, I don't really have any romantic ties to the Mercedes. So 65 Mustang for me.
Okay, me too. All right. You mentioned your mother. My mom's favorite is 65 Mustang, which and I always told her if I hit the Powerball, I will buy her a completely restored 65 cherry red 65 Mustang with the white convertible top.
Dad says my grandfather was an awesome dude. He had a 65 red Mustang, so he had one of the originals. My mom really liked T-Birds. She liked those original sort of T-Bird coupes that were in the 50s. I think they started getting bigger in the 60s. And then they went back to the original design when they started remaking them either in the 80s or the 90s. She loved that one too. So, okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. All right.
8
that
9.
Sets up a hell of a bracket in the next round. All right. So 8-9. The Jaguar XJS, which is the
Thank you for the 5 of
Jaguar.
you who hung on, by the way.
Say again?
I said thank you for the 5 of you who are hanging on and listening to the audio. That's mighty nice of you.
Yeah. And the Ferrari 308 GTB, otherwise known as the Magnum PI car.
And the Sammy Hagar I Can't Drive 55 car. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a win in for the Ferrari because I know we're both going to pick it, but let me give you some justification anyway. So the Ferrari, that that Ferrari, I just saw one of those, as a matter of fact, like 2 weeks ago. It had Hamburg plates on it, which is a town about 9 miles west of me. It was paired up with a more modern Ferrari. That Ferrari is so iconic to me, and just for the two things you just said, Magnum PI, Sammy Hagar. I think he had a Berlinetta Boxster, so they're not the same car, but I mean similar era, similar shape, that sort of thing.
Right.
That was when I acquired my love of Ferrari and the Ferrari F1 team and the whole thing. Jaguar can't even get close. Jaguar didn't really start making. I don't know that they've ever made a great sports car unless you're in Britain and you like to buy Jaguar or Jaguar. I think they are owned by an Indian company now, which is, I guess, ironic. Yeah, yes. 56 T-Bird. That's what it was, Dad. Thank you. And so I don't know that Jaguar to me has ever had a great reputation. They had the most recent Jaguar ads. They look very muscly and they look very competitive. And Mark Strong does the voicing, and I love that guy. He's a great actor. But I've just never found any sort of balls to Jaguar stuff that I've seen. I guess I'll have to watch a documentary and learn better, but I've just never really cared about Jaguar stuff. I've never been, like partial to go buy one. I saw a Maserati that was for sale for like $30,000, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get that. I've always been but the Jaguar has never really impressed me, so I would take the Ferrari here, and I think you would too.
Oh, yeah, I will. So that sets up our second round.
Okay.
The Ferrari, how many of us, we all wanted to be Magnum driving that thing, especially on the island. Especially when the girls
just sitting next to him, like, where are we going now, Magnum? Oh, we're going to Hilo. Oh, let's go to Hilo. Yeah. That'll be awesome. Yay. Is TJ going to fly us? Oh.
Now, I would love to have that helicopter. I'd take that helicopter over the Ferrari any day.
Yeah.
The little bird, heck yeah.
That was great. That was a great helicopter.
That sets up the second round.
All right. Dun, 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 dun.
Going with, these are going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Number 4. A 70 Chevelle muscle car, and a Dodge Challenger, 69 Challenger.
Both of these are...
I'm sorry, Charger.
So I already did... Charger, right. So I think I've talked about both of these, and I think... So my stepfather and I rebuilt a... No one gets excited about going to Hilo, right. My dad or stepdad and I rebuilt a Chevy Chevelle for a little while, and then we moved, and he had to sell it and some other things. So I do have a tie to that. But the again, the distinction of the Charger is just symbolic to me. And maybe I'm confusing my cars though. Let me just double check something here. La 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 la.
While you do that, I have
it's the car I'm thinking of. That's fine. No. I'm just looking at it again. It's just fucking amazing looking. I mean, it looks like an aircraft carrier that can just haul ass. I mean, it's just that big. My stepfather used to own this car called a Ford Ambassador. It was like a 72 or 73. It used to be an Admiral's car. He bought it for like $800. It was the biggest car I've ever been in my life. I got to drive it once when I was younger. It was a huge effing car. And that's what this thing looks like, but it looks like the racing version of that. So it's kind of a tough call, but the Dodge Charger is, and I mean, not to bring it up in today's, but I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard. So, I mean, that car is burned into my memory. So Dodge Charger for me.
All right. We're going to have to flip because, the Chevelle is in my DNA. My grandmother owned a 69 Chevelle.
Oh, right on.
Now it was grandma's car. Don't get me wrong. It was a 4-door. It was like this faded gold with avocado colored interior.
Right.
It was, but it was a Chevelle. We had a 1980 Chevelle when we came back from Germany, which just had the name. It did not look like a 60, 70 Chevelle. Whatever.
Sure.
And then when I was in high school, my best friend Randall, whose mom Connie is listening, and actually said, "I love the old T-Bird shirts. Chevelles were big in our family." My best friend Randall in high school had a 68 Chevelle that looked great on the outside, repainted, redid the top, all that. Inside, no shit. One of the seats was a milk crate. So It was,
That's outstanding.
but it would go balls to the wall. I love Chevelle, so we're going to flip. And I actually remembered to get a quarter tonight.
All right.
And
So we're just gonna have to trust you.
Yeah. So can you see that? Can you see the heads?
I didn't call anything.
Kind of.
Hang on, I gotta bring up your. Okay, so it's heads. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Shit, I dropped the quarter. All right, ready?
Go ahead, Thunderbird.
It is heads. So you get the Charger.
Charger moves on. I'm looking at Chevelles now, and yeah, they were an awesome car. I recall that sort of being as part of my growing up too. We were never without good cars. I'll say that. Corvettes and the whole thing, but the Navy paid bigger bonuses back then. All right, Charger it is.
All right.
They weren't taxed.
All right, so here's one for you. The GTO, the 67 GTO, and the 77 Pontiac Trans Am. Eastbound and down.
So I saw this as we were as I was updating the bracket, because again I hadn't looked at the bracket, and then I saw that car, and I was like, well, this bracket's over. I'm not voting. This will be. I don't have to make an argument anymore. This bracket is going to win every round. So we could pretty much. I mean, my vote. That car is incredible. That car is worth so much money now. It is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially the black and gold ones. And it had a 6.6 liter engine. That engine is bigger than the first floor of my house. It is incredibly powered. I mean, it was a huge, brilliant. I mean, and Burt Reynolds driving it. I mean, it's driving along and there's testosterone coming out of the exhaust pipe. I mean, it's all of that shit, right? It is a phenomenal car. I can't even see what a GTO looks like, that car in front of it. It is just, I mean, excuse my French, it is like, now I'm not even going to say it because it's too vulgar, but it is the muscle car in my mind.
It's a magnet, isn't it?
But it's that thing that arrives in the room 10 minutes before you do. It's that sort of thing. So it's a line from Moneyball that I mean, we can curse, but I'm not going to get vulgar because people listen.
Yeah.
So anyway, I picked the Trans Am.
I do too.
Every day and twice on Sunday. So that's a great car.
There was a guy. I used to cut through a neighborhood to get to work at Fort Sill, and this guy had not only the black one. Yeah. But it had a gold one as well in the driveway.
Yeah.
And so he was, yes. So, all right. So the Trans Am moves on.
Yeah.
So now this one hurts me because this is my parents' favorite cars.
All right.
In this bracket. This bracket.
All right.
The 57 Chevy Bel Air.
Yeah.
And a 65 Mustang.
So,
I mean, the two epitomes of classic American automobile.
You're not kidding when you say that. That is the 57 Chevy, which is what it was. I mean, I've never known it as anything but a 57 Chevy. The tail fins, all the chrome. I mean, that car is so. I mean, it is cheeseburgers, apple pie, baseball. It is in the same phrasing. It is incredibly American, despite it being 70 years old. It is. I mean, it is the car you drove. My mom used to talk about this car a lot, and so did my stepdad. He used to talk about it a lot. I mean, it was a big deal. When you hear people talking about when they would fix up cars or when they were cars that were sought after, 57 Chevy with the big tail fins and the whole thing. It was a big deal. And that's something a lot of cars, by the way, have lost is cars back then, especially that kind of car, had a lot of chrome. And when you look at cars today, they just look like plastic pods with a little bit of chrome here and there. It's the car with the more chrome that tends to get your attention. And that car just had, and a lot of cars back then had a shit ton of chrome. 65 Mustang is incredibly iconic. A lot of people who listen to our show, I think, have a lot of great memories of that car. But I think they have greater memories of the Chevy. So I picked the Chevy just because in my DNA, it is ingrained even deeper than the Mustang and a lot of other of these cars. That's a tough call. And it's going to be actually tough when it goes on to the next round. But I picked the 57 Chevy.
I do as well.
Yeah.
And so I know my dad's going to be happy. Sorry, Mom. But when you think of early muscle cars.
Yeah.
At that age, 1957. Yeah. Remember, the Mustang didn't even come out till 65.
Right.
And then the muscle cars of the Mustang really a little later than that.
Right.
But the 57 Chevy, I saw one here on the road that comes out of my neighborhood,
right,
or my village here. Right. I saw a 57 Chevy that just looked immaculate. Yeah. Immaculate.
So do all the ones in Cuba.
Yeah. So
here's I want
57 Chevy.
So maybe your dad or my dad can weigh in on this on the feed if they're there. My dad will, but that car and that year to me started a lot of shit. I think that's right around when they started racing on the sand at Daytona. Might have been a little earlier than that. I don't remember. It was probably a little earlier than that. To me, that's when, in my mind at least, now there were hot rods fixed up for moonshine running and all of that. I get that. But as far as a mainstream public conscious, that car, the 57 Chevy, is also when sort of hot rods began in my mind and modifying these old, that was when that started. But also, I'm a huge fan of drag racing. I don't know if you knew that. I love NHRA drag racing. But I especially love the old 60s dragsters that were built on these sort of 11-foot steel frames, and they're awesome, right? And I think all of that is born right there from that car and this sort of impetus that it had for creation of all this other shit. And that whole California car culture and everything else, American graffiti, on and on and on. So I'm going to have to think hard about that next round for that card. So, all right, let's go.
All right. So the last of the new ones here, the Ferrari, the Magnum Ferrari, Magnum PI Ferrari, and the 69 Camaro.
Now, why did you choose the 69 Camaro? I'm curious.
The 69 Camaro has always been what is considered the top muscle car of the Camaros.
Okay.
And I did some research on this. I've always personally liked the 69 Camaro.
Okay.
But in all the top muscle cars, blah, 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 69 Camaro always came out on top.
Okay.
And I like you alluded to this earlier, there's a lot of the 60s, 50s, 60s cars in this bracket.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's when they were, for at risk of sounding like an old man, that's when they were cars. There wasn't a lot of plastic. There wasn't a lot of all this and that, and so I chose the 69 Camaro and the Ferrari 308.
And for some reason, I was confusing it with Jim Rockford's gold. I think it was a Pontiac Firebird, but I don't remember what that was.
I think that was 66.
Was it?
I'm sorry,
I'll look that one up.
76, 77.
I'll look that one up. But in any case, as much as I love the Ferrari, I like that car more.
Even Connie Maurer said 69 Camaro was so cool.
It was cool. It's a great looking car, and and you could see why they brought that style back. Although I think it's a 74 Pontiac Firebird that Rockford drives. You could see why they brought it back as the design for, resurrecting the Camaro that they did a few years ago, because it's a great looking. The problem is that car, the 69, looks like a real fucking car. The car that they have today looks like a Nike shoebox with wheels, and it's just an ugly, bloated mess to me. They need to trim it down, slim it, give it better lines. I wouldn't go near one of those. They are ugly. And if you have one, whatever, but I think they're ugly cars. So, anyway, I love that car too, and I would give the nod to the 69 there, despite my love for the 1 foot on the brake and 1 on the gas Camaro that Sammy Hagar and Magnum and Eddie drove a Lamborghini. Eddie Van Halen drove a Lamborghini. So anyway, I picked the Camaro as well.
Yeah. Camaro PJ is a Camaro aficionado.
Yeah.
As long as I've known him, he's driven Camaros.
Yeah. Did he have an IROC?
Let's see, early 90s. I don't know if he's had an IROC or not.
Him and Doug Flutie cruising around in the IROC?
He has. PJ, real quick, what is your year of Camaro right now?
He said, "Hey, now watch it."
As you know, he's a big Batman fan, so he's got the Batman symbol on the hood.
Yeah.
He's changed the doors so the doors rise up.
No way, really?
Rise
Hey,
up.
PJ, we need pictures of that to show off on the page. You need to send. How do we not know this? That is fucking cool. That's awesome.
So that's a 2014, he said.
Love it.
But I know he had a purple one back in the, what would it have been?
Purple Rain era? Big Prince fan too?
Mid-90s.
Oh, okay.
Late 90s.
Purple Camaro. Look at PJ rolling big. Love it.
The Grape Ape. Yeah. So anyway.
I love it.
Okay, so here we go.
All
right. So our final four.
All American, by the way.
All
None of your foreign jobs made it.
Oh, man. These are going to hurt me.
The Prosh didn't make it.
This is going to hurt.
The Jaguar didn't make it.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
No, Jaguar didn't go.
95 Grape 8. I love it.
77 Trans Am.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds in the Trans Am.
Yeah.
And American Graffiti 57 Chevy.
Fuck. This is a hard choice.
You're doing the movie cars next week. I shouldn't go to movies. So.
Yeah, that's shit. This is a difficult choice.
This is hard.
I've already talked the ass out of the 57 Chevy and those. So I guess I just have to pick. Silence, he says, as he thinks. And he waits.
I will tell you that the first time I saw that Trans Am was in a Taunus Theater in Wiesbaden, Germany, Heidelberg housing area, when I saw Smokey and the Bandit. My parents took me and my young sister to see.
Which, aside from the laws changing, is a film that, oddly enough, still holds up as pretty funny. So, although it's still kind of, Burt Reynolds is kind of creepy, like he was in Cannonball Run, but,
like you said.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the Chevy, and the reason why I'm picking it is because we're going to do cinema and TV cars next week, and I will have this car in there, and I can give it another run next week. So, I'll pick the 57 Chevy.
I'm going to pick the 57 Chevy.
Literally the only reason why I'm picking it.
And it's my dad's favorite car, and we've already killed my mom's favorite car. So since they're listening, my dad actually filled out a bracket. So this is a either or bracket here. So I'll go with the 57, and we don't have to flip a coin. Yeah. Which brings us to the top, the other of the final four.
Yeah.
And this was going to be tough for you.
Yeah.
The 69 Camaro and the 69 Charger.
Both great
69,
cars.
Everybody wins.
Both great cars. Both iconic, but I picked the Charger. The Charger to me is the more iconic of those. And again, there were some cars you didn't have in here, but I will when we make the bracket for next week. So here's, and we'll talk about the quiz next week too. But when I make the bracket for next week, I think we'll see some return of a couple of these. But I picked the Charger. Sure. I just really liked. I just think it's just the all around great muscle hustle car, and there's just something really just big dicked about it. I can't think of another way to put that. Sorry if I've offended you, but there's just something really like big dick in the locker room about that car. I'm picking the Charger.
I'm going with the Camaro.
Oh,
Camaros.
Shit.
I love Camaros. I said I almost bought a Camaro instead of the car I have now.
Yeah.
To bring here.
Ray said no.
Yeah, and that'll be I said, that'll just point me as an American. And also, it wouldn't be great gas mileage, because if you're going to buy a Camaro, get the damn V8.
All right.
So
I'll tell you what. Don't even flip. I'll acquiesce on this, but you got to talk your way out of the last round. So we'll just let the Camaro go forward, and that'll make Ray happy. So let's see. We want happy customers on the podcast. All right. So based on my calculations, that leaves the 69 Camaro versus the 57 Chevy. All right, Smarty, I've done all the starter arguments. You do it.
We talked about it being iconic. If I could walk into a garage, and I know there's some here in Germany. You know there are, because a lot of them came over in the occupation. So there are 57 Chevys here. If I could find one and can talk somebody out of it, I would buy it today. If I had the money.
Yeah.
the other thing is, you could say the same thing about the 69 Camaro.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see what PJ said? PJ said the Trans Am was just a Camaro with a bad tail. Anyway, the 69 Camaro is also iconic for a different reason. The muscles, the speed, the sound. The Chevy, though, the Chevy could look good being in mom and dad's driveway.
Right.
You know, whether it was a two-door, whether it was a four-door. So as much as I'm a Camaro guy, as much as I love Camaros of all ages, even those long 80s Camaros,
Yeah.
with the dudes with the pop collars were driving.
Doug Flutie. The Doug Flutie Camaro.
Yeah. And then the boxy ones that came
PJ
out
even
in
said he owned an
89.
IROC Z, so he was in the Doug Flutie club. Good for you, PJ.
So I love Camaros, and if it was up against anything else, I would probably go with the Camaro.
Yeah.
But by God, I'm going with the 57 Chevy because of its iconic status,
Yeah.
because it's true Americana,
Yeah.
because, again, it could be sitting in a family driveway or on a drag strip and still be, hey, that's a 57 Chevy and I want it.
Well, guess what? 57 Chevy's the winner because I don't have to talk anymore about it. So 57 Chevy is the winner of the bracket for this week. So let's go and check. I didn't go through the predictions round by round this time, so I apologize for that. We were just having too many technical issues again, but hopefully we will resolve that next week as we try to do every week. That said, guess who is our winner this week?
John Pennell.
No, Daniel Nathaniel wins again. He's not getting another T-shirt, though. He's still ineligible to win a second T-shirt for at least another 3 months. So congratulations to Daniel. He had, I got to move my Skype window here. Hang on. Let's see here.
Hey, you got dark behind you.
Yes, it is. Night has fallen, as it were. DN3 American Pie, guess which car he picked to win? The 57 Chevy. Yeah, he picked it right away. So he wins that on just the basis of points. Remember, if you're most of you who do our brackets regularly, thank you. But the points are progressive, so it pays more to get the later rounds right than it does the early rounds. The early rounds are great, but that won't kill you as long as you're hammering, and that's the way it works on most March Madness Final Four brackets as well. So congratulations to Daniel. But actually, PJ is second. I'm Batman 14 RS. He picked the 69 Camaro. So if we had gone Camaro there, he would have been a winner. He also picked the Trans Am, but he had the Aston Martin going deep. I can't agree with that. Magnum PI, whoever that was, picked the Ferrari 308 GTB. I think that was wishful thinking. What, Annabelle? Okay, I'll come in a minute. Your dad picked the 67 Pontiac GTO, and Musclehead, I think that's my day. Yeah, Musclehead picked the 67 Pontiac GTO. So good trying, and it was a good bracket this week. So we appreciate everybody who played, and we appreciate everybody who listened through the technical difficulties to get through to a black winner. But Daniel Nathaniel, good at reading our minds. I'll say that.
And that's the scary thing.
It is. It really is.
In my head.
I mean, he had the Aston Martin. That was out early, but, I mean, he called 57 Chevy, so he's good at reading our minds. Anyway, Daniel, thank you. And thank you for everyone who submitted a bracket. We appreciate everyone playing, and it's always fun to do these and kind of do it along. So the next bracket, next Saturday, since John B. just signed in, he's been out hunting and gathering. We appreciate that. John, we've had some technical problems anyway. That said, the next bracket for next week will be cinematic cars, TV and cars. And that will be a round of 16 because I know I can fill that sucker up with easily with a number of cars. And that will include the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. That will include the Dukes of Hazzard Charger. That will include the Gone in 60 Seconds Camaro. That will include the Bullet Camaro. So that's only 4, so that gives me 12 more cars to play with. It'll include the Knight Rider car from Kit. So I think it's a good bracket. I'll get that one up early so we can try to get as many predictions in as possible, and it will be a lot of fun. All right, we've already busted the hell out of the time, and I've got to edit some out because of the failures anyway. But anything else you want to cover that we didn't cover tonight? We don't need to rush away.
No, I don't think so. It's been fun. It's been a fun week. The bracket was fun. Good seeing everybody back in the office. Looking forward to a beautiful day of golf tomorrow.
Yes.
And
by the way, happy Father's Day to you.
Oh, and yes, and let me say that. Happy Father's Day to all my friends and family who are fathers. My favorite father is the one that helped create me. Without him, I wouldn't be here. So happy Father's Day, John, Dad. Happy Father's Day, PJ, and to all the other fathers listening. Fantastic. I hope my daughter remembers to call me. I think she will. And I'll tell you what, Jason, I have PJ on the brain there. I never would have thought. I grew up in my early 20s saying, oh, I'm not going to have kids, not going to have kids. But when I held that little girl for the first time when she was born, I knew what true love was, and it never has gone away.
That's a pretty cool feeling.
I've been frustrated. I've been mad. There were times when I just wanted to throw my hands up and you take her, but unadulterated, pure love when you see that baby for the first time. And I mean, you just can't. I love being a father.
As do I. And happy Father's Day to my dad and all of the dads out there, John B. and all the other ones who listen to us. And we appreciate, as always, you being good dads and listening to our show, of course. All right. Well, I think that will about wrap it up. Again, next Saturday's bracket will be cinematic cars, great cars from movies and television, a round of 16. So you can start predicting that. Actually, I'll post that up on Monday. So you'll have all week to get that in. And you get the quiz this week. So you're doing 3 in a row, but then we can start alternating. So then you'll get the quiz, I'll get the bracket, then I'll get the quiz, you'll get the bracket, and then we'll be back on sync. So in any case, thank you for joining us. Thank you for living through the technical issues. I'm not going to say we'll have them solved this week, but we'll have a solution for next week. And if doing it live is the way to go, we'll do it that way, but we'll figure it out. In any case, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, listen on Spotify, and thank you to those of you who did reviews on iTunes. I read them a couple days ago. Really appreciate that. It does help the algorithm no matter what. So if you can do that, that would be really helpful, but continue to do that, and we'd appreciate it. So again, thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for listening in and sticking with the live broadcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Have a great night.